Well, we're going to welcome in Longhorn legend Michael Griffin. How we doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Doing good. How about yourself?
Hey,
Not
Jordan,
too bad.
how are you going to
Long
bring
time
in?
no see.
How are you going to bring in Griff and not do a proper introduction? This man's in the Longhorn Hall of Honor. He's former first-round draft pick, was an All-American at Texas, second-team All-Pro with the Tennessee Titans, decorated NFL career, the pride of Bowie High School. So let's give Griff the proper introduction, even though he doesn't need one. Let's give him the proper introduction.
I'm so old. Everybody forgot all about those things. So you have to look all those things up. Even my kids don't believe half the stuff you just said. So
You,
they
you,
they
you
fight it
know,
all day.
Griff, Jordan was telling me about a conversation that you guys were having. This has been a while back about Brad Smith, and Jordan was asking me, he's like, "Who's Brad Smith?" So a couple weeks ago during the A&M South Carolina game, I said, "Hey, you want to know what Brad Smith looked like?" I'm like, "Go watch what Lenore Sellers is doing to the Aggies right now. That'll give you a general idea of who Brad Smith was back in the day at Missouri."
Yeah, man, it's a lot of quarterbacks that's back in there. I mean, of course, everybody, especially all the Horn fans and stuff, remember Vince Young. But before that, it was like guys like Seneca Wallace. It was guys like Brad Smith. Um, it was quite a few different quarterbacks that when you went into a game, I can't remember his name with Kansas State, who played with Sproles, who got in a little bit of trouble before I think it was the bowl game out there in Arizona.
L.
But
Roberson, yeah.
Roberson, yeah. But I mean, there was quite a few quarterbacks. Even when you go back to Nebraska and the quarterback they had at the time when they was a powerhouse and they would run the football and stuff. So back in my era when I was playing, the sit back in the pocket quarterbacks, kind of like the Ewers and the guys you see now. You had quarterbacks that were, I mean, 225 plus, 6'3", that can run the ball if need be, but had strong arms and things of that nature. So it was just a different type of football game back in the day. And then you go back to Texas A&M, they had Reggie McNeil, and then you had Stephen McGee right after that. So they also had mobile quarterbacks that can do a lot of great things.
Yeah. Well, hey, big game coming up for Quinn, obviously, the rest of the team. What are you most excited for about the rivalry finally being back on Saturday?
I mean, the biggest thing is, College Station is only like basically the same distance between here and Waco than when we used to play Baylor Bears compared to now going to College Station. I just remember that trip. The biggest thing I loved most about it was a day right after Thanksgiving, and so you knew like everybody was everybody was watching you during on that time or whatnot. But really, it's just really exciting just to see them get back into it. I don't think they understand the environment that they're going to walk into. I think they may be more prepared for it now. I remember Sark's first year, the team going to Arkansas and not realizing how much Arkansas hates Texas and seeing that environment. And Arkansas was not a good team that year, but they actually came out victorious versus the Longhorns. But again, going to College Station, I think it's just the environment is back. That last game of the season that determines a lot of things. Even for myself, it was my last game to walk out in a Darrell K. Royal Stadium and be, you have that senior walk. We lost that game, but again, you're about to play a rivalry game like this. It's going to be truly an experience that these young men are going to really, really enjoy and going to remember for the rest of their lives.
Griff, I know cosmetically, aesthetically, Kyle Field now is a lot different than the Kyle Field you played at back in the day. But you played at some special places. You played at Ohio State, Nebraska, a lot of different, unique environments. What made Kyle Field, though, so difficult to go in there and play as a road opponent?
I mean, the first thing is loud. I mean, when you talk about one of the loudest stadiums, I mean, people talk about the Red River Rivalry. That stadium is split in half. I also think playing in the Horseshoe against Ohio State, that was in a crazy environment. Just a night game, as loud as it is. And then the crazy thing is, even this game is going to be a night game.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's going to be watching. So, and there's a lot that's at stake when it comes to this game. So, for it to come back and everything that's going to be everything that's entailed in this one game, it's a lot. But I just remember, the biggest thing is like you being on the field, but like looking up in the stands. The waving thing that they do is crazy.
Yeah.
They're twirling the towels. And it's just a crazy environment. You see all the military outfits or whatnot, the what they wearing. It's just a crazy environment that's really loud, and that'd be a 6:30 game. Everybody's off all week. I can only imagine what that environment is going to be. You talking about? I mean, they're out right now. They're all celebrating. They're getting it kicked up. They're going to get some Thanksgiving in on Thursday. Watch some NFL games, and then I think there's a game Friday, and then hey, here we come. You got games all day, all rivalry games, all day Saturday, and then you come into that last one with Texas versus Texas A&M, and it hasn't been played in so many years. And the last time Texas was victorious with a Justin Tucker walk-off field goal. But just to see this game right now, I mean, this is a game where legends are made. You know, you're going to be remembered. You win this game, and you head into the SEC championship game for the first year in the SEC. I mean, you're going to be cemented down into, history books of being what to accomplish. So there's a lot riding in this game. And so I could see, being amped up, family. I can only imagine what these young men are feeling this whole week with everybody just off and asking for tickets and just everything that goes into play. I can only imagine what's going on this week.
So you had plenty of memorable plays versus A&M, in the years you played them. The block punt is what we were talking about earlier, the 1-point safety. But what is your favorite memory from those years you played against A&M, whether it could have been in the locker room after y'all beat them or that block punt? What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that rivalry in your life?
Oh, man, if y'all go back and watch that game, I had 23 tackles the last time I played there. But there's one shot that I'd have been injected in today's world. I'd have been injected. But there's one hit that I had on Stephen McGee, and I thought I knocked him out. And Lord have mercy, he got right back up. I don't know how he did it.
I was watching them earlier. It might be one of these ones.
Yeah, this was early in the game, but the last one towards the end, I thought I had him. I thought, hey, this one right here. Lined him up. Let's go get him, huh? And I said, he's out of there. And my man, watch his head. Yep, I'm out. Yep. But I give him credit. That I give him a lot of credit. I mean, I believe he was a freshman that year. And the way that he played that game, and we was playing for a lot in that game. You go back to think, if we lost that game, the national championship hopes may not be there. But again, the way he played that game, I give him a lot of credit. But the other thing is like Jaworski Lane, people don't realize, you got Derrick Henry now in the NFL, but when you got a guy like Jaworski Lane, you're praying like, hey, whatever y'all do, don't let this guy get free. I'm not trying to be one-on-one with this man. So, but yeah, that if you say that game, I really remember that hit. In the block punt, if anybody knows the true story about it, I wasn't even supposed to go in for the block. I was supposed to block my guy. But at the time, the game was really close. And I said, I know I can get there. So I basically checked whoop ass, I call it. And I just left. And I blocked it. And they were like, what were you doing? I said, Coach, I knew I can get there. I knew it. I knew I can get there. Blocked the punt, and Cedric Griffin managed to catch it. He scored a touchdown. And so, like, those two big plays, I remember, big plays. But I thought I had Stephen McGee. So, yeah, if I would have had him, I think I would have went down in history. But
yeah, he was on one that day, Griff. He was bound and determined to will A&M to a win, and he made it interesting for a while. But yeah, you guys laid the wood on Stephen McGee that day. But you look at the players now, and you've only got Isaiah Bond and Amari Niblack, I think, are the only two guys. They went to College Station when they were at Bama. None of the other guys have played A&M. They haven't been to College Station. Obviously, they've got OU, but if one of the guys was to ask you, they said, Griff, what's the difference from a player mentality, player perspective, how you view the OU game from how you view the A&M game? Is there a difference? What is the difference?
The OU game was one of those games that never mattered what the record was. It was just bragging rights. It never mattered. It was always bragging rights. especially later on when it came down to that you could still face OU again in the Big 12 championship.
Mm-hmm.
So it never really played. Back in the day, it used to be you had the North and the South. So you knew you had to get over that game in order to play for the Big 12 championship, to play whoever was going to be the representation of the North. But it was always bragging rights, not to mention it was still a home and away game, being that half the field was one, the other half was the other. And from that game, it never actually told you what your season was going to be. But this game, it's home or away, and normally it's senior day, and so there's a lot of emotions. And then it's also right after Thanksgiving, where everybody's off, and it's a lot that builds up to the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before the OU game, you're going to class, you're doing all these different things, but before this game, it's literally like everybody's off campus. It's just us for an entire week. We may have a small Thanksgiving meal. Coach may give us a little bit of time off to go be with family, whatever it may be. And then after that, it's like you're locked in. And it's that moment of that you're just constant more. And it's going to be probably more likely a bus ride. So you get to sit on that bus with your teammates for an hour and a half, however long it takes. And literally you have that much time that you're just able just to think about this game. And then you're talking about a 6:30 game. It's going to be a lot. You know, it's going to be a night game. You talk about all the fireworks and everything that's going to be going on. If you ever go to College Station, you realize like that's their pro team, just like Texas is the Austin's pro team. So it's just a lot. It's a lot that goes into this game. And then, like always, there's a lot of implications on where this season unfolds and where it goes. I know my senior year, we lost to A&M, and if we would have won that game, we probably would have been playing in another maybe another a big bowl like a Sugar Bowl or whatever it may have been. But we lost that game, ended up playing at the Alamo Bowl. But it's a lot. It's a lot of implications on this game, and for some reason, every year there's a lot of implications on this game. And so it's just you're going into a hostile environment. No matter where you go, everybody hates you, and this is going to be something that the state of Texas is going to be talking about, because we all know it's either you're Aggie or you're a Longhorn.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to any other school you want to, whether it's TCU, SMU, UTSA, North. You can go to any school you want to, but at the end of the day, you're still, whether you're an A&M fan or you're a Texas fan, that's just how it goes. On that day, whoever went to U of H, they're throwing the U of H stuff away and they're bringing their College Station stuff out, or they're bringing their Texas stuff out. Like, that's just what it is when it comes to this game.
Yeah. So we were talking Sunday. We were talking about your recruitment a little bit, and I think you had mentioned you committed to Texas A&M. You were committed to Texas A&M
I
at
was
one
out of
point.
there, baby. I was okay. So people don't know this again. Got to tell my age now. So I saw a movie called Sir Parker, and Sir Parker played for Texas A&M, and I remember just the maroon uniforms and the black cleats. And at the time, Texas was wearing white cleats. It was after the whole Reebok era, wearing the black with the Ricky Williams and stuff. So I going through the whole recruiting process. At the time, R.C. Slocum, I was really close with Sean Slocum, who was the DB coach. I just hit it off with him, and yeah, I mean, I was ready to go to A&M, and then they fired R.C. Slocum. I remember calling Mack Brown like, "Hey, is it the offer still good?" He's like, his biggest thing was, "Hey, you commit to me, it's like a marriage. Like, there's no more dating. It's over with." So once I committed, he told my brother he can be a preferred walk-on, but he's going to treat him just like a scholarship player. My brother had other offers, but we both wanted to stay together and then play here at the University of Texas. So it worked out. Obviously, it worked out great. But I tell people all the time, originally I was committed to, and I always wanted to be a veterinarian. So that was the school to go to. And, these young men today they got the NIL deals and looking forward to playing pros. My thing was like, okay, what's life after football? And so I was like, hey, I can go there, play football, get the free education, but then I can go ahead and go into do pre-vet and become a veterinarian. But obviously, God had other plans for me. So End up playing 10 years in the league. And do I want to go back to school and be a vet? Absolutely not.
So with the when the Slocum news broke that they had fired him, like how much time do you think passed? I'm sure you don't quite remember everything, but how much time do you think passed between then and when you called Mack Brown?
Oh, it was. I'm sure it was fairly quick. I mean,
Mhm.
at the time, Texas was hot. Texas was hot. It was the thing that they couldn't get over OU at the time, and OU was like the team to beat. And at the time, it was Vince Young and Reggie McNeil. Those were the two top quarterbacks in high school that came out. One went to Texas, one went to Texas A&M. And at the time, Reggie McNeil, you had a lot of great players over at Texas A&M. I remember Jackson Appel was a really good safety. You had Dat Wynn, Warren. You had a lot of great players, especially on the defensive side of the ball over there. And it was like one of the situations where you were like, both teams are going to be good football teams. And they both ended up being good football teams. It was just which way did you want to go? And at the time, it was everybody was going to Texas. And then at the time, you got to think about it. I knew Jackson Appel I think he was either a junior or a senior. So I knew he only had so much longer to be there. And at the time, you had Michael Huff, who was during my recruiting process. He was a redshirt freshman. Cedric Griffin was a redshirt freshman who was playing. Kendall Browse at the time was playing. So you had those three guys all in the same class. And then you also had Rufus
Rufus
Harris.
Harris.
Rufus Harris, who was the number one safety at Texas at the time. He was there. And then you got to understand my class. You had Terrell Brown, Aaron Ross, who just came back. He was supposed to be with the Michael Huff and them, but he just came back. And so you had a lot of great, talented players that were there. So, you look at guys now in the transfer portal and, not getting playing time and getting recruited. That was every year what Texas was recruiting. I mean, you think about it, they had Cedric Benson who was there, but then they recruited a guy by the name of Eric Hardeman, who was by far one of the best running backs I've seen. We talked about that.
Told you,
Yeah.
Jordan. I told you.
Yeah.
Aaron Hardeman was a freak. I tell this all the time. I joke with my guys like, hey, if Eric Harden would have had a shot to play, I don't know about some of these other guys that ended up taking off and having good careers in Texas because he was that guy. 6'1", 225, ran a low 10 in the 100. I mean, he was a freak. And he started on varsity as a true freshman. He was a freak. But you had all these guys that were coming in. I was a former running back coming in that had to learn a whole new position when I got there to Texas. And then, so Lyman Sweed, Gaywood were the top receivers in the country. So at the time, we were bringing in the top players at every position each and every year. And so, A&M just seemed like it was a easier task to get to what I was trying to do, get on the football field. But at the same time, I think Texas made me who I was today. It was competition, and it worked out perfectly that each and every day you had to come to work. You had to play. Coach Akina's main thing was the best player is going to play. I don't care if you're on scholarship. I don't care if you're a walk-on. I don't care. The best players are going to play, and that's what he did.
Griff, you bring up Eric Hardeman, and I'm thinking about some of the guys you played with during your time at Texas. I mean, you were there with VY and Ramont's Taylor and Derek Johnson, some freaks. Who, whether it's at Texas or the NFL, who's the freakiest guy you played with where you just looked at what he did and said that's just God given. There's no way you could coach that. You just either have it or you don't.
Well, the freakiest guy that I played against has to be Calvin Johnson, by far, 6'5", 230 something, 4'3", 4. I mean, literally, there's nothing you could do. I don't. It's amazing what they're doing now with receivers, and they're going smaller and faster. But this guy was just as big and just as fast as these younger guys. And I also played with Randy Moss, who was a freakish talent. But out of all the guys, I have to say. Hardest worker by far, I would have to say, was probably Cedric Benson. He might have been the hardest worker. I remember watching him every day after practice. Funny part, in practice, he wanted you to hit him. rest in peace. He's like, hit me. We're like, what do you mean hit you? Like, he's like, I want you to hit me so I know what I need to do when the games come. And then he used to work out. He used to squat 225 for max reps every day after practice because he said when the fourth quarter comes, while all of y'all are tired down, I want to just get started. And you notice a lot of games, even go back to the Michigan game and all those. When that fourth quarter came, that man was still going. So probably one of the smartest players I would have to say was Michael Huff. Smartest player. You looked at all his interceptions. Literally just pick sixes left and right. And but the most talented player, I would have to probably say Vince Young's a freak, but I think Ramon Taylor was a guy that was a Percy Harvin before Percy Harvin.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what his actual position actually was, to be honest with you. There was just plays and things that he did that just didn't even make sense. I mean, one play I can go back to the Ohio State game. I don't know what he was thinking. He like fumbled the ball, goes in the back of the end zone, gets out, makes it all the way past midfield. Um, he could throw. I don't know if you remember the play where they did this crazy play where he gets the ball, he throws it to Vince Young down the sideline. He could throw it like 60, 70 yards, like ridiculously. Uh, and then they just found ways to figure out how to get him the ball. And he was just one of those guys that I must probably say 5'11".
Yeah.
When he was playing, probably 185 pounds. Was fast, could jump, could throw, could catch. I mean, his hands were like freakishly sized, big hands. So, I mean, he was just one of those guys that was unbelievable in things he can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably say he was the guy that just could do things that you just couldn't coach. He just could do it naturally.
You played, Griff, you played with 2 Thorpe Award winners at Texas, and we just found out
Tell me about it, man.
Right before the show started, we found out that Jade is a finalist for the Thorpe Award.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for the DBU legacy, and you see a Texas guy for the Thorpe Award, the fact that it's an Austin kid that always dreamed of playing for Texas, the fact that it's Jade doing it. Well, what level of pride do you take in the kind of year he's had?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would say about 3. So I'll go back a couple of years ago, back when I did Longhorn Network, watching him play. I think it was it Sark's first year? I think it was Sark's first year. Him and Guilbeau was competing for the same position. Guilbeau came in as a true freshman. They're both competing. Guilbeau, unfortunately, tore his ACL. And just to see what Jade was able to do with that opportunity of being a full-time starter. And, I mean, there was one point, you try to throw those bubble screens and anything else, I mean, he was wrecking havoc. Seeing what he did versus Vanderbilt was impressive. I mean, seeing what he did versus Arkansas, Vanderbilt. He's just a Swiss Army knife. A guy that he kind of reminds me of, who's doing a phenomenal job right now in the NFL, who played for Baylor, Petrie.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that you could put him at the safety position. He can cover. He can blitz. He can do a lot of things, and I think that's what Jade is capable and able to do. You can put him in a lot of different positions. I know he's playing some corner this year. But in the past, he's been a lot, really strong, basically like a linebacker, nickel, whatever. But the biggest thing I say, and I always laugh, my biggest thing is being a guy from Austin and playing for the University of Texas. It goes a long way, just because you cement yourself as one of the Austin greats and one of the high school players that when you look at these young high school kids in the Austin area, just tell them what they can do and where they can be and things of that nature. I think that's big, especially for himself. A guy went to Pflugerville Conley, came in, tried to figure out his way, went between coaching changes and things. I know there was a point in time where he might have been a little unhappy and trying to figure out what he wanted to do and managed to stick it out. And to see where he is today, it's phenomenal. Going to the number 7, I told him he should have went 27. But I think he did a better job at picking 7 because obviously that number 7 does a lot of great things with Michael Huff. But again, really, really, really proud of him. Talk to him all the time. But what he's did this year, what he did last year, and what he's done in the past. I mean, kudos to him. Congratulations on whatever happens. If he wins it, not whatever. I hope he does win it. But just what he's done, it's tremendous, and especially for the city of Austin, and to be able to live out his dreams of playing for the University of Texas. The question whether or not he left last draft or stay another year, stuck through it. It's just all positive, and obviously he's doing the right thing, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously, I'm sure you saw the Mack Brown news from this morning. You know, this is last year at UNC. He's going to coach you the rest of the season. Still hasn't come out if it's a bowl game yet, but someone who played for Mack Brown your entire Texas career, and, you know, he's who recruited you to Austin. What do you think was the best speech you gave, you know, during your time there? And credit to Jose in the comments for this question.
Oh man, you know the best. I would say the funniest thing that he ever did. I can't remember where we were at. So, it's a different era. When Mack Brown was there, we had rest in peace Cleve Bryant. It was just we were so strict. It was no facial jewelry, no chains, no all the stuff you see these young men doing today. That was a no. Uh, but I remember. I forgot. I got to ask Vince. It was funny. So Mack Brown would always see us joking around, listening to music, whatever, and all this. And I remember the one day he said, "I forgot my." He said he forgot his He forgot his at the time. What were they? Not the little device we used to have back. That's what I'm saying. We old as all.
It's like his little MP3 player,
iPod, whatever it was. Yeah. He had a little something he had. He plugged it in. He was listening to Mike Jones. He's listening to Mike Jones. And he said, I've been trying to figure out who Mike Jones. I was like, what in the... And his thing was, he said, the only way I can relate to y'all, I guess I got to listen to what the hell y'all be listening to, because I've been trying to figure this shit out for the longest. Y'all yelling out, who? And I'm hearing Mike Jones. And I'm like, who? And they like, Mike Jones. And he just kept, so he like got to like, basically he just like, he was like, I got to relate to y'all. Like the only way I'm going to get the best out of y'all is if I can relate to y'all. And that might have been the best. I forgot what game we were about to play. And it was a serious game. But when I tell you, he had us dying laughing because he put his iPod in, hit play, and was like, I don't know who the hell Mike Jones is. And then he was like, 2-8-1-3-3. Hey, we was like, well, he goes, who is Mike Jones? It might have been the funniest moment ever because, you know, Mac is like always like serious, like a politician. And it was just like, I don't know who the hell Mike Jones is. And I'm still trying to figure out this song because he keeps asking who. And I'm like, I thought I was listening to Mike Jones. And he kept asking who. I'm like, dude, but that might have been one of the other ones might have been the funniest things that ever happened. We were losing Oklahoma State. Bad. I think it was like 28-7 or 35-7, something ridiculous. We were losing bad. And I remember Mack Brown comes into the locker room and Vince says, don't say shit. We know what the fuck we need to do. And Mack just turns around and walks out the door. And we end up winning the game like 50-something to 35 or whatever. Like they didn't score the second half. But like Mack Brown has some funny moments though. Like it's just, he was just a cool, like, and the most thing I don't know how he did it, but he remembers everybody's name. Like even to this day, he not last names. He remembers first names when it comes to like parents and all the players that he coached. Like that was the biggest thing that was most amazing on what he did. But great coach. Always, it was funny. He would get on his coaches before he gets on the guys. He like, we were like his kids. And that was one of the biggest things. Remember, just him, just like making sure, hey, y'all get out there, y'all get after it, and then we're gonna back it off. I'm gonna throw you a bone here and there. But I was talking to Nathan Vasher not too recently about like how good we had it, but we didn't realize how good we had it. So anytime we used to win, we used to always have surf and turf. So we'll go into we go to the east side of the east side of the stadium, go upstairs, have steaks, lobsters, shrimp every Sunday after we won. But if we lost, we used to have like the dining room type food, like the SpaghettiOs and like the old school veggie soup. And it was like funny because we were so used to eating steak and lobster. It was like, I just want y'all to have a bad taste in your mouth the next week. And then we would always go out there like, hey, we don't want to eat that again. So, but yeah, Mack Brown's a great coach. I love him to death. Still to this day, one of the best coaches I've ever had.
Griff, real quick, I know you're short on time. Last one I got for you. You look at some of the playoff predictors, they'll say Texas somewhere between like a 97% and 100% lock for the playoff, regardless of what happens on Saturday. Do you think Texas is locked into the college football playoff at this point?
I think they are locked in. The biggest thing I've been hearing, and it's off topic, but the whole strength of schedule and all these things. And, I said this a long time ago. I even said this last year on air with Longhorn Network. You have, in most conferences, you have the top 3 schools, 2 or 3 schools. You have the top 2, and then you have that third school that's just hanging around there. So this decides they want to be good this year. Then you have the middle of the pack that just beat up on each other. And then you have the lower tier. And I said for the longest with the SEC, we always talked about your Alabama and your Georgia. LSU some years wanted to play in there. They won a couple of championships. Florida wanted to play around in there. Missouri last year wanted to play around in there. But you also have the lower tier teams, your Mississippi State. Kentucky gave a lot of people some good fights this year. I think they're very close. I think that backup quarterback that came out, I think he did some great things.
Yeah.
Kentucky's they're right there. But I think South Carolina's a team that's going to start playing, with their quarterback and their running back situation. I think they have a really good team. Their defense, they play really tough and strong. But again, you have those top 3 teams, and then you have the middle of the pack or whatever. So I understand the whole concept of SEC, but I also said that we say SEC, but we're really only talking about 2, maybe 3 teams. We're not always talking, even when you go with the Big 12, even when Texas and OU, you always talked about the Big 12. You said, it's a weak conference, but you had the 2 teams that were normally on the top, and then you have your Iowa State that used to play around, flirt with it, the Kansas State, other teams. And then when you go to the Big 10 now, you still have your Ohio State, you have your Oregon, and then you have your Penn State floating around each and every year. So I think the things just doesn't change. You have your powerhouses in those conferences and things, but I think Texas has done enough, despite what you want to say the record. When they played Michigan, Michigan was supposed to be a top 10, top 15 team. The same people that are saying it's a weak schedule, the same people that voted these teams are supposed to be good teams. When they played Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt was supposed to be a good team who beat Alabama. LSU was supposed to be a good team, but they lost to. Ole Miss was supposed to be a good team that beat Georgia, but then turned around and lost a game. So let's also keep in mind that when we're saying that they have a weak schedule, we also were the same people that said that, they get in the SEC, it's going to be a lot tougher. It's not going to be a cakewalk like it was in the Big 12. They get in there, they have a good football team. Let's just say, hey, listen, this year they're good for a win is a win. Doesn't matter who you beat, a win is a win. I think they are a lock. I think A&M is going to give them their best shot. I think they said Georgia's locked in already for the
SEC championship.
I think there'll be a rematch, in my opinion. Hopefully there's a rematch. And if that is the case, I think you still align back with the fact that Georgia still stays in because you got 1-1 when it comes to Texas. And I think you have Texas and Georgia representing the SEC when it comes to the playoffs. That's just my opinion.
Yep. Well, we don't want to hold you any longer. Appreciate you coming on for the half hour, and I'll probably see you the 22nd, I guess, if there is a practice on the 22nd. Who knows? Lake Travis might make it to Arlington.
Hey, Griff, real quick before you go, anything charity-wise, business-wise, anything you want to promote you got going on before you get out of here?
I mean, right now, I think Jordan stands us. We got Juice. Juice is 7-on-7 travel team. You can look it up. Juice 707 on Instagram things. Jade was a product of that. Jade was on the team. Got a lot of guys that are getting recruited right now. Some guys that's going on to play. That's going to next week is signing day, so you see a lot of our guys. We're promoting a lot of those guys going, and guys in the future that's coming up. But that's the biggest thing that I do in my spare time is just we just had a tryout this past Sunday. We have another one, I believe, on the 15th. Another tryout, and we know a lot of young men either got knocked out of the playoffs and they didn't feel like going right back into football, or some people are still in the playoffs. So definitely, that's just something we do. That's kind of like the charity thing I do. And anybody that understands know that I have Gigi's Cupcakes right there off of 620 and 71. And outside of that, come on, Lake Travis, let's get another win. I was laughing earlier when you said you had the Wi-Fi, Jordan, because I don't know if y'all saw the whole Baker Mayfield suing his parents.
Oh, yeah. These are the Lake Travis topics, Griffin, I usually talk about.
We thugs out here in Lake Travis, baby.
Oh yeah. No, but hey, I'll see you on the sideline on Friday. I'll be there too. So
hey, well, make sure you bring me like a heated blanket. So it's supposed to be a little chilly out there. You know, we in Texas, we're not used to cold.
yeah, hey, I got you. I'll get some hand warmers. We need them for tournaments anyway. So
no question. But
yeah,
I
all right,
appreciate
man.
y'all. Thank y'all.
Griff, thanks for the time.
You.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Y'all take care. Have a good holiday.